Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, a woman visiting the state from New South Wales has died after being stabbed by a home invader in a random attack in Ulverston. A local man is in custody after being arrested at his house on the same street where the horrific crime occurred.
It was just after 11 this morning when police took a man into custody at his home on Main Street in Ulverston. At 3 a.m, police had been called to another house 200 metres up the road when a woman heard a prowler inside her home.
As a result of that call, we've located a deceased 22-year-old female with injuries which are consistent with being murdered, consistent with a knife wound.
The victim was a traveller from New South Wales. She'd been in the state for 2 to 3 weeks before the brutal attack. Police say she was staying with a friend, the woman who called for help. That friend and her 2 young children were inside the house when the crime took place.
Obviously distraught, to witness something like that in your house. She's made a statement to us already this morning and has just gone off for the support and counselling. Residents
woke to a busy street. Police cordoning off a section while evidence was gathered. Detectives are still unsure why it happened.
There doesn't appear to be any known connection between the 2 people.
Charges are yet to be laid against the man in custody. This section of Main Street is expected to remain closed for the next 24 to 48 hours while forensic officers continue their investigations. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
To breaking news now, and after weeks of waiting, Tasmania officially has a new Labor leader. For the latest details, our reporter Meg Sides joins us now. Good evening, Meg. Now, who will take over the top job?
Well, Kim, counting of around 1,000 ballots finished only minutes ago, and it's just been confirmed David O'Byrne is the new Labor Party leader. He claimed a very comfortable victory, receiving 74% of all the votes from party members. It's been a competition between Franklin MP and Braddon Shane Broad, both spending the past 3 weeks travelling and meeting with members, trying to win their votes. David O'Byrne was widely expected to take the role. He'll now replace Rebecca White, who decided not to recontest the leadership after the party's 3rd consecutive election loss. So, Kim, there's sure to be some big changes on the way for the party, with David O'Byrne expected to reveal his plans for the future tomorrow.
OK, thank you very much, Meg. Meg Sides there with that breaking news. Well, from controversial crosses to a solstice banquet, Dark Mofo is one night away from warming up a long Tasmanian winter. But with 2 new COVID cases in Melbourne, the border to one of our largest tourism markets remains shut on the eve of the iconic festival.
Crosses hung, red lighting ready and a shed lined with food stalls. Winter feast finally taking shape, albeit in the new COVID world.
This year the few changes will be a limited capacity, particularly within the shed we have a much smaller capacity. And then our seating requirements as well.
Dark Mofo taking over Hobart tomorrow, but this year it comes with strict COVID rules. And with 2 new cases in Melbourne, the border remains firmly shut, forcing out an entire region of festival goers.
We'll be guided by public health advice, and whilst we've had some difficult and challenging matters to deal with, but I'm certain that Dark Mofo will be a success, regardless of whether or not we open to Victoria by the weekend.
We'll still be able to have the demand for stallholders to be really successful.
For those stallholders like Bruny Island oysters, a COVID outbreak brings with it another wave of uncertainty, not knowing exactly who will make it through the gates.
Very disconcerting. It always is. You're in the hands of the gods, really. We'll cater for the unknown quantity of tourism.
But in the usually quiet winter, businesses are confident the demand, minus Melbourne, will be strong, ready to start cooking.
We make everything from scratch. We bake our baguettes every morning, and the skewer is hot, spicy.
While at the Hanging Garden, performance preparations are underway. The festival's patron saint, Pope Alice, taking to a transformed stage.
Is very much interested in the idea of transformation, which the winter solstice represents. Change, the darkest night of the year, but out of dark comes light.
And the controversial Dark Mofo crosses are making their return. Installed today, ready for celebrations to begin. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Experts are working on a new doctor training program designed to help fix a critical lack of GPs in regional Tasmania. The peak body says rural doctor numbers are at crisis point, saying the situation is already impacting patient safety. It's now hoped a new community-based model will attract more graduates to the job.
We know that it's crucial for the sustainability of many of our rural and remote towns that there is good medical services. And we know that the GPs provide the most efficient and most effective care.
We know there's at the moment 50 vacancies around rural and remote areas in Tassie, so it's a nationwide problem as well, but Tasmania's not exempt from it.
Applications for the new program will open next year. Progress is being made on the Tasman highway works, with several large rocks taken down despite the wet weather over the long weekend. The state government says the removal process will continue this week ahead of more rain forecast. Crews are continuing to monitor both Wellington Road and Lake Leak Road. Hundreds of people opposed to the Mount Wellington cable car proposal have gathered at a public town hall meeting. 6 days remain in the public consultation period. Organisers of the rally are encouraging submissions from the public about the highly controversial project. The plan includes 2 80-person cabins, 3 towers, a base station and a new 4-level building on the summit.
But it is the first time we've had a comprehensive set of information on the public record and actually been invited to make a contribution, make a representation, knowing that that will be listened to and knowing that will be heard.
The opposition is increasing as people become more aware of the detail in the development application.
The company behind the proposal says it's committed to consultation with the public, but believes people will view the project as a way of protecting the mountain's environment and heritage. For the first time, Tasmanian motorists will be able to spread their registration fees across 4 payments to ease the financial burden. The scheme will come into effect at the start of next month. Advocates say 1 in 5 vulnerable Tasmanians was using no-interest loans to pay full vehicle registration.
Our most complicated loans are registrations because often people are stressed, they need their car for work, they can't pay their registration, it's about to lapse.
The state government claims it has also slashed bureaucratic red tape to waive a number of admin fees. Police have praised drivers for a fatality-free long weekend. Officers increased patrols as part of the Safe Arrival traffic operation and were pleased with most motorists doing the right thing. But they say they were disappointed after detecting 20 drivers disobeying traffic lights in Hobart in one afternoon. An international provider supporting children with hearing loss will permanently place a clinician in Tasmania for the first time. Families across the state will benefit thanks to a $500,000 grant.
Holding on. Oh.
Ted Warren is like any 3-year-old boy, energetic, cheeky and full of life.
I think the sun's coming out.
Sun. But at just a few days old, his parents were given devastating news.
It was discovered that he did actually have severe hearing loss. He was born with severe hearing loss.
The family decided to reach out to the Shepherd Centre for support. They've been using the early intervention speech and language programs ever since.
It was all around fun and doing games and doing things that would build Ted's capacity to hear and talk. And it's been incredibly successful for us.
$500,000 has been donated to the centre to fund a clinician in Hobart for 3 years.
Now, they haven't been able to do that before, so they've had people who fly in and fly out with some support from some local practitioners. But having a clinician that's employed by the Shepherd Centre that specialises in working with families and with children who have hearing impairment will be absolutely fantastic.
It's a bit more challenging now that he's a 3-year-old and it's a bit harder to engage him by video conference, so knowing that there will be a service down in here in Tasmania that we can go along and speak to somebody face to face and meet with them is going to be fantastic.
It's one of 8 projects chosen by the Tasmanian Community Fund.
Strategically, we're wanting to see projects and programs that are absolutely looking at Tasmania's community wellbeing going forward. So the $3.1 million that we've provided to the 8 recipients this time is really, it's going to do so much good for the Tasmanian community.
Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmanian News.
Thousands of extra Tasmanian footy fans could be allowed into this weekend's blockbuster matches, with Public Health weighing up a request from the AFL clubs. Launceston Arena and UTAS Stadium both have a current limit of around 13,000 people, but the Premier says the standing room capacity could increase even more.
It's a fantastic opportunity for Tasmanians to turn up and see the best of AFL played right here at UTAS and also next Saturday at Launceston.
A game of football is worth $5 million plus to the economy, and we think this will be the biggest game yet.
The state government rejected claims of an oversaturation of games in Tasmania after only 3,500 fans turned out for North Melbourne's last encounter. Marches have taken to the streets across Tasmania, raising awareness of elder abuse within the community. With simultaneous walks in Hobart, Launceston and Burnie, advocates are calling for significant social change to protect older Australians. Recent data found 15% of all elderly people have either experienced abuse or know someone who has.
It's a really complex issue. It can be financial abuse, it can be physical abuse, it could be psychological abuse, and unfortunately it can also be sexual abuse.
The events coincided with World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Launceston Church Grammar School has celebrated its 175th birthday with a special tribute. Teachers and students gathered on the Oval this morning, forming the numbers 175. Launceston Grammar is the oldest continually running independent school in the country.
Olympia Warriors say they have lofty ambitions to claim a Tasmanian top flight treble this season, all 3 trophies. Yesterday's come from behind statewide cup triumph adds to their summer cup win, and now the league title is firmly in sight.
We need to perform this weekend, get the result and hopefully put a few goals away to get us back on track.
The Warriors take on bottom of the table Taroona at home on Sunday. Australia's best BMX riders will be coming to Launceston as part of the National Championships next year. The event was originally scheduled for last year but was scrapped due to COVID-19. It'll be the first time Tasmania has hosted the championships in almost 2 decades. After last year's unprecedented cancellation, entries for the 77th Sydney Hobart Yacht Race are now open. The Cruising Yacht Club of Australia is anticipating crews from Australia and abroad will line up for Boxing Day's Blue Water Classic. For the first time in its history, the great race will feature the newly popular two-handed racing division.
Welcome back. 13 degrees today in Hobart. Launceston had a top of 15 degrees, 13 for Burnie with 14 degrees in Devonport. Around Tasmania, 16 was the state's high today at Eddystone Point and on King Island, 15 for Smithton, 14 degrees at Cressy, Friendly Beaches and also Strawn, 13 for Lowhead, Wynyard, Fingal, Campania and Grove with a top of 12 degrees at Sheffield. On the charts, cumulus cloud visible over Tasmania today, small breakthroughs of sun over the west. Further out, you can see an active mass of cloud extending from South Australia into Victoria, associated with a low over the Bight, scattered cloud over eastern regions. Tomorrow, the low moves east, maintaining a front to the north and a warm front through Bass Strait, highs visible over Queensland and southeast of Tasmania. East to northeasterly winds tomorrow, 10 to 20 knots, lighter and variable about the west with seas between 1 and 2 metres. And there is a minor flood warning for the Macquarie, the Meander and the South Esk rivers. Onto the forecast, 14 tomorrow in Hobart and Geeveston, some early fog expected there, 13 degrees at Bothwell. Fog in the morning for Launceston, 15 degrees, 14 in Devonport and Cressy. 13 and showers in Burnie, 15 at Strawn, 14 degrees for Curry, with a top of 15 and showers in St Helens and Swansea, 14 degrees at Orford. Showers expected about the east, extending to most districts on Thursday, fine about the west. Those conditions continuing again on Friday, with a fine day on Saturday, apart from light showers about the south and the east. Looking at your major cities for tomorrow, 19 degrees in Perth, 14 and showers for Adelaide, Melbourne and Canberra, 21 degrees in Sydney, 24 for Brisbane with 31 and sunny conditions in Darwin. And at the moment there's a few clouds about over Tasmania, 12 degrees in Hobart and 11 degrees in Launceston and Devonport. Kim, would you believe it? We're already 1/6 of the way through winter.
5-6 to go, but we are getting closer to that shortest day, so I'm happy about that. See you again tomorrow, Sam.